Hey y'all, what's going on? It's your boy Mike. So, just finishing up work, and there's a topic I was thinking about that I think is pretty pertinent for a lot of people, and it is, which exercise implements are better. Um, are barbells better than dumbbells? Are machines better? Are kettlebells? Are bands? Are bodyweight exercises better? Which one is best? And depends on what your overall goal is what your tool is. For instance, if you're building a house, you need putty. If you're fixing a chair, you may need a screwdriver. So everything has their place. Which one is best? It just depends on what you're doing. They all have their place. They all have their importance. It also depends on if you're working on any muscular imbalances, things of that nature. For instance, when you're using a barbell, you can tend to lift a lot heavier. However, if you have any muscular imbalances, like one side's a lot weaker than the other, then the stronger side will kind of pick up the slack of the weaker side. So you can still kind of maintain that muscular imbalance. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that one arm is going to be 26 inches, the other one's going to be 15, but there may be some weaknesses in the weaker arm compared to the stronger arm. They'll both grow, but the stronger arm will kind of pick up more of the slack from the weaker arm. Dumbbells are amazing. Again, they can kind of help reduce that muscular imbalance. However, there is a lot more of a balance indicator that you have to use with dumbbells. Kettlebells are awesome. There is a slight learning curve, particularly depending on which exercise you're trying to do, because again, it has that belt, the curve shaped handle. So if you're doing something overhead, and you're holding it by that, the weight can kind of slide over. So there is a slight learning curve with learning how to use those. With plate loaded machines, well, I'll go with pin loaded machines first, because you tend to see a lot more pin loaded than plate loaded, depending on the type of gym that you go. With a pin loaded machine, those are awesome. They actually are a little bit safer than your typical barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, your free weight exercises. However, they do take a lot of the stability aspect out of your workouts. So they're really, really good, but they do take out some stability. With your plate loaded, it's a good combination between your pin loaded and your free weights. But again, that can be kind of limited with how much you're actually able to lift. So let's say if you're doing they have shoulder press machines, and let's say you're doing a plate loaded shoulder press machine, but you're not strong enough to get whatever kind of plate it is up there, or you don't have the range of motion for certain things or whatever, or you can't find the plates that you're looking for. That can be a hindrance for your plate loaded machines. But again, they are great. I find that they're a good mixture of a pin loaded machine and also a dumbbell load machine. So it's a good in between. Bands are amazing and so underrated. The only thing that limits you with bands are your imagination. However, a problem with bands is that you can take them anywhere, because again, they can kind of fold in pretty much any place, depending on if it's as a handle, or in the therapy room if it's a Therex, a TheraBand. You can take them pretty much anywhere. They are limited to what kind of resistance that you can put on them. So you can increase the resistance by making the band shorter, make a little loop or something of that nature. So you can make the resistance band have a higher resistance. The biggest issue with resistance bands is people don't know how to take care of them. A lot of times you'll see people wiping them with alcohol, or you'll see them leave them out in the car. And those two things, alcohol and the sun, can kind of deteriorate the rubber. So it can kind of make it brittle, make it easier to pop, tear. So there is a safety aspect with resistance bands. You have to know how to store them, how to care for them. I'm not saying you have to be super, super gentle, but just know the best way to clean them and the best way to store them, so you reduce the risk of injury if you're storing them incorrectly, and then you use it. Because again, the last thing you want to do is, while you're trying to do a curl with your resistance band, is resistance band to pop and smack you in the face. We're not about that life. So you gotta think about that safety aspect with your resistance bands. With bodyweight exercises are great. A lot of people use them as a way to start off, but you can kind of really increase the intensity with bodyweight exercises with the different kind of calisthenics that you'll see. For instance, you'll see someone go with push-ups. Push-ups are a great example. There's so many different variations and ways that you can make the push-up harder or easier. Again, let's say if you're not super strong, or you get dizzy going down to the floor or something like that, do your push-ups against the wall. As that gets easier, go to a counter. As that gets easier, you can go to a chair that's like really stable and against the wall, because again, we don't want the chair to move, we don't want you to fall. So you can push the chair up against the wall, or go to a table, or you can go to your couch, and then actually go to the floor, then bring your legs up, and then you can move your hand positions to make it a more narrow grip, a wider grip. There's so many different ways you can do a push-up. There's so many different ways you can do a pull-up. There's different ways you can do a squat. Whether it's a regular squat, whether it's a single leg squat, I forgot what the leg is, but there's pistol squats. There's so many different things that you can do. With bodyweight exercises and calisthenics, there's a pretty steep learning curve with certain exercises, because some of them look a lot easier than they actually are, but great exercise. One of the biggest things with that is, depending on what kind of exercise you're doing, you have to see what you have available. So let's say if you're trying to do pull-ups, you have a pull-up bar. Do you have enough room to do a pull-up bar? Let's say if you're too strong, you're working on not kick-ups, you're doing muscle ups, but you only have a basic pull-up bar in your house, where you're gonna do your muscle ups. So there's certain things you have to watch out for when you're doing your different calisthenics exercises. Now, which one is best? They all have their place. They all have their time. Just depends on what your particular fitness goals are and your body goals. If your goal is to be a bodybuilder, then there's no need to be a calisthenics athlete. You need the range of motion, you need that overall strength, but you're not going to get the bodybuilder results from calisthenic exercises. Just like if you want to be a calisthenics athlete, then why are you working on 1 rep maxes, and with barbells, or why are you doing snatches and clean and jerks if you're a calisthenics athlete? The two don't really they don't mix very well. They can mix. You do work strengthening it with everything. However, they're almost like saying that you're McDonald's and you're going to Burger King to borrow some fries. It's still fries, it's still exercise. It was just why are you doing this? But again, they both have their place, and you can mix and mingle different things. You can use one thing to kind of pre-exhaust, which is a great way, or you can make sure that that after you've done your main exercise, you can use a different variation of exercise to make sure that that you've hit everything, to make sure that you put in enough work. For instance, one of the things that I used to do is, I would, on my back day, I would do all my heavy lifting, my lat pull downs, my rows, all these different things. And to make sure my back was finished off, I'll see how many pull-ups I can do. And if I can do more than 10 pull-ups, that means I didn't work hard enough, and I just start cranking out more pull-ups. However, if I did 6 sets of 10 pull-ups before my back workout, then I'll be kind of limited with some of the weights that I can move. Does that make sense? So there's a place and time for everything, and you can mix and mingle. There's nothing is you can't, if you're doing this, you can't do that. Do whatever you want. The biggest thing is be safe and have fun. Those are the most important things with exercise, with lifting weights. Be safe, have fun, and make sure it's something that you can do for a long time, not just for now. Because again, we're trying to be lifelong, not necessarily lifelong athletes, but we want to be able to move for as long as we want to move. That is the name of the game, is to be able to do what you want to do for as long as you want to do, without the physical limitations that come with age and reduced mobility and injury and things like that. You know what I mean? So there's no bet. This is best. It just depends on what you're doing and what you have time for. So let's say if you don't have a lot of time to load all the plates. For instance, if you're doing deadlifts, you know how long it takes to load the plates for deadlifting? It takes forever. But let's say if you have dumbbells. It's okay, I have some super heavy dumbbells. I do some deadlifts with 60-pound dumbbells, 80-pound dumbbells, 100-pound dumbbells, compared to trying to find a barbell and kind of keep loading the plates up. That can take forever. Or let's say if you're trying to do dumbbell bench press, but all the dumbbells are taken, but you have a pin loaded. Do the pin loaded bench press. So you can still do your exercises. You don't have to stick to dumbbells. You don't have to just stick to barbells, or you don't have to just stick to plate loading. Again, a thing that's so, like, people don't give enough credit to, are the bands, are the TheraBands, are your bodyweight exercises. Let's say if you're doing bench press, but you want to kind of like change the resistance profile, you see people add bands, you see people add chains to it. So there are different ways that you can trick, I don't say trick the body, but different ways you can put different resistances on the body, depending on if you have any weak points, any sticky points, things like that. There's so many different ways that you can make it work for you and kind of like just adapt it. And so that's what makes exercise so interesting and so fun, is that the only thing that limits you is your imagination and injury, but imagination, because there's so many different things that you can do. Because one of the things I like to do is say, okay, how does the muscle work? I'm not saying you need to have a degree in physiology or kinesiology or sports and exercise science, but just knowing the basics of how the muscle works, it can open your eyes to how many different things that we can do. Or whenever you're doing an exercise, if you understand how the muscle works, you can feel the exercise better and say, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing because this muscle does this thing. For instance, there's an exercise called a straight arm pull down, which is you have your arms all the way up, you just bring them down to your stomach area. You have like a kind of lean over and say, okay, what is this doing? This is a lat exercise. It's a great exercise. Sometimes you'll see people do a dumbbell pullover where they're laying on the bench, they have the dumbbells above their head and they kind of bring it this way. Again, same exercise, different variation. Some people consider that a chest exercise because you are stretching your chest. Some people consider a lat exercise. It's actually both, and it also depends on where you're kind of stopping. That's a slightly contradictory thing. It's like, oh, if you stop here, it's lats. If you stop here, it's chest. Just work. That's the main thing. And you can get really good benefits, doing some back stuff like on your chest day. Talk about that a little bit later on. But that's a great exercise. And whenever I started doing the exercise, I was like, okay, I'm feeling it a little bit. But then when I actually put my mind into the muscle and was remembering what my muscle was supposed to do, I felt it that much more. My back actually started to get bigger. I was like, okay, this is what's supposed to be doing. I get this now. Granted, I do have some of the education and the science behind it to understand what I'm supposed to be doing. But when I was able to put my mind into the muscle, it's like, okay, this makes sense. I'm understanding this now. Perfect. I'm good. Exercises started exploding. My strength with almost everything started to explode once I put my mind back into the muscle. Another thing I will say is that there's a difference between working a motion and working a muscle. You see it all the time. People are doing shoulder external rotations. Where they have a dumbbell in their hand, they bring it this way. You're doing the exercise, you're doing the motion, but you're not doing the exercise. Because what you're trying to work doing that is you're trying to work your rear delt, which does external rotation. However, where's gravity pointing? Gravity is pointing down. So if you're doing this, you're technically working your biceps because again, gravity's pointing down. So you have a dumbbell, your biceps are working. You will feel your delts because they're doing the motion. But in order to optimize that, you need a band, pulling from one way so you can actually pull the band in the way that you're supposed to go. Or you want to lay down so gravity is pointing down and working the same exercise. Again, that's why we have bands. That's why we have dumbbells. That's why we have kettlebells. That's why we have plates. Because everything has its place. Everything has its time. And you can use different implements for the same exercise. And even changing your body position can change the exercise so you know what you're doing. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, drop a comment down. Or there's any other ideas, any other things that you've seen that's like, okay, like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? Drop a comment down below. We can chat about it. I can kind of answer your questions. That's just one example of putting your mind in the muscle, knowing what the muscle is supposed to be doing, and even the importance of using different implements. Because let's say if you had a band, you're doing the same thing. You're working it properly because again, where the resistance is coming from. With gravity, if you're standing up and you're doing external rotation, gravity's pointing down. You're working your biceps, not your rear delts. Again, I can talk about that another time, or just kind of like show you a demonstration of that a little bit later on. So again, going back to the main point, what's best? Barbells, dumbbells, kettlebells, bands, etheric bands, body weight. What is best? They're all amazing. Have fun. Choose all of them. Do all of them. Switch it up, but every now and then. Sometimes you want to do, body weight exercises. Some days you want to do powerlifting exercises. Some days you want to do, play around with it. It's like I will go from squats and then I'll go and do tire flips. And then I'll go ahead and do sled pushes. It's like, and then I'll do single leg step ups, and I'll do lunges, and then I may do squats. I may do, I may go on the machine and do hamstring curls. You're switching everything up. And again, that's what makes exercise so fun, is that you can do almost whatever you want to do, and it'll be effective. Again, as long as you're doing things in a safe manner, that you're not going to get hurt. And if you are afraid that you're going to get hurt, that's why you find a trainer, you find someone who has more experience. You can ask me. I can try to answer some questions for you. The only thing that limits you is safety and imagination. If those two things aren't a factor, you can do almost anything with any exercise, with any implement. Have fun. That's the most important thing. Have fun and be safe. If there's a question that you have, like, okay, how can I do this? How can I do this? Which one should I do this time? Which one should I do this time? Another good rule of thumb that I would say is, whenever you're doing your exercises, I think I said this in the video, is that do your compound lifts first and then do your isolation. So things that are requiring two joints to move, those are considered compound exercises. If there's one joint to move, that's an isolation exercise. Example, a bench press is a compound exercise because your shoulders and your elbows are moving, whereas a dumbbell curl is an isolation exercise because it's just your elbow moving. Unless you're cheat curling, then people consider it a compound exercise, but don't cheat curl. No, there's a time and place for everything. But no, again, this is particularly for beginners. There's no need to cheat curl. Work the form, work the exercise, not just the motion. Again, there's a difference between working the exercise and working the motion. We're trying to work the exercise, not just the motion, so it can be as safe as we can and be as effective and efficient as we can, with our time in the gym. All right. So again, just want to stop in, just want to chop it up with you guys, for a little bit. Again, just finished work. Work was pretty good. Everyone didn't work with me that I thought that they would, but it's all good. Things happen. People are tired. I understand it. So all we can do is we do our best. Again, like I said, just want to stay here, chop it up with you guys for a little bit. Again, if there's any other questions, comments, concerns, drop them down in the chat. Love to chat with you guys. Again, I appreciate all you guys for subscribing. Follow all my random rants, my random ramblings, if you will. And then check you guys later. All right, bye.